How do you do, fellow kids? I have Major Bludd. I was finally able to track this renegade down. I have to hand it to Hasbro. They were good to their word about putting more of the product on the shelves. However, I do find the timing rather suspicious. For a second, I'm gonna put on my conspiracy theory hat and just kind of, walk through the timeline again. I think, what is it, middle of May or early May, we got news that there was a leaked Major Bludd figure, and it was put on eBay, and the bidding went up to $10,000, and then kind of dissipated. I think the auction was canceled or what have you, which kind of put the entire community into a frenzy about Major Bludd. And then all of a sudden, Major Bludd, with no announcement, no usual listings on the Target website, started hitting shelves, and they were gone in an instant. And we all saw the pictures on social media, people buying him by the caseload, and most of us were left without getting a hold of Major Bludd. Then Friday rolls around, the first of, I guess, multiple announcements in June about G.I. Joe figures. They said, oh, there's going to be more of the Cobra Island figures on the shelves, starting with Major Bludd, and like that, like instantly, at least, a day later, people were posting pictures on social media of more Major Bloods found, and arguably maybe in larger quantities this time. So I think that was super suspicious. I think this was I have to believe that this situation was manipulated by Hasbro and Target. However, I think on giving them a slight benefit of the doubt, I want to say, I want to believe that the reason they did this was to restore faith in the fan community to go out and buy these products, or go out and, or at least not abandon this line out of frustration. And hopefully what that means is that we will all be having an opportunity to get the Cobra Trooper, the Baroness, Beachhead, the Target exclusive Roadblock, this summer, and we'll also be able to get Barbecue, Breaker. Let's see, and hopefully down the line they'll also be re-releasing Firefly and the Viper. So I'm hoping what they're doing is looking after their best interests, which is to gain more revenue from this line, and in turn that will benefit us as collectors. That's my little tirade about my conspiracy theory on the Major Bludd the Major Bludd thing. So anyway, I'm going to open this up because I am super excited about Major Bludd. He is one of my favorite characters. I think there are a few characters that are sort of underrated, underappreciated, in the vintage line. I think the original Major Bludd is an awesome figure. He kind of was in there, I can't remember if he was 83 or 84, but I want to say 84. Which I think anything before 1985 is sort of some things are overlooked. I think the green team, the 1982 green team is sort of, there's mixed reviews on the green team, just because they are so simplistic, and a lot of reuse of parts, and then you know, characters like Destro and Storm Shadow sort of pull attention away from characters like Major Bludd. He kind of him and Scrap Iron, I think, kind of get lost in the shuffle. But anyway, yeah, those are our two characters. I hope I'm able to get, you know, I hope they release Scrap Iron. Hope I'm able to get him. But for now, I got me a Major Bludd. So let's go ahead and open him up. So here we have Major Bludd. He is, I mean, I do have the vintage Major Bludd figure. I bought him on eBay probably a couple years ago, I think. I think this, God, this is super detailed. I love the removable helmet. I love the fact that we're doing that a lot with the 6-inch G.I. Joes. I mean, this is what we wanted, in my opinion. This is what the G.I. Joe community wanted. We wanted characters like Major Bludd. A little bit of updating is fine, you know. His patch is, you know, has been upgraded to a scanner. It does have a great, super detailed scar that goes along with that. You know, someone was mentioning that pretty much all of the G.I. Joes, all of the classified figures have facial scars, except for, I think, the female characters. But, you know, whatever. I mean, I was talking about Scrap Iron earlier, and Scrap Iron definitely is going to have a facial scar. I mean, or at least I hope he does, because the vintage version did. But, you know, like Duke and Flint, who weren't really known for having a facial scar, have scars now. So very interesting. I love this figure. I love the detail on the robotic arm. That was kind of a detail that was sort of lost on the vintage figure. It was one of those things where until I had gotten one, I wasn't really aware that he had a robotic arm. And then I was like, oh, one of these arms doesn't, you know, the vintage one doesn't even articulate. This one has a lot of articulation, really cool details. You can kind of see them, you know, like almost like an engine mechanism in there to move his shoulder. The backpack's really great. The backpack seems very similar to what we had in the vintage line, but it's also functional, where the missiles peg into these removable missiles, which are, you know, this is basically like the type of weapon he had in the vintage line. He had kind of this handheld rocket launcher type thing. Pegs right into the pack. I've heard a lot of grumbling about some of the figures not coming with backpacks, and the latest one being Breaker. The reveal of Breaker having all the tech on his helmet instead of his backpack, which I don't mind. I don't mind that sort of update. That, you know, that's kind of cool with me. I think the backpacks were kind of an easy accessory, especially at the beginning. You know, they were just kind of like a just molded chunk that popped into their back, and, you know, obviously a lot of the early figures only came with one accessory. Some of the later figures in the late 80s and the early 90s were almost like, you know, accessory packs unto themselves. And I've heard people, you know, all right, well, let's see. So you had like the late 80s versions being accessory packs, you know, coming with their own like sort of accessory packs. And then the 90s came with like these sort of generic accessory trees. And I've heard a lot of grumblings about those, but I kind of appreciated getting a lot of accessories with the later G.I. Joes, because one of the things is, if you had been collecting from 1982 to 1992, your earlier figures, you probably lost some of those accessories, and you kind of borrow some, some of the accessories, some of the, your version 2 Snake Eyes could borrow a sword from your Ninja Force Snake Eyes, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, looking at this figure, I think what we're getting is kind of what the fans sort of want out of a 6-inch G.I. Joe classified line. I'm hoping that now that they sort of established the brand, they have a better idea of what the demand is for it, and that they will be able to fulfill demand, especially with the retail exclusives like the Cobra Island Troopers. But I think a lot of the announcements on this past Friday, this June Fan First Friday, was it June 4th, I think? I think that represents a relaunch of the brand. I think originally the idea was to make the characters sort of like updated video game characters, and I think what they've realized is that they've found their audience in 40-year-old men who are sitting around a pandemic and wanting to relive their childhood in their home offices while they telecommute to their job. And speaking from personal perspective, but the gold accents are going away. We're getting redecoed versions of the Wave 1 figures. We're getting the reveals, the latest announcements are talking about characters who are true to their classic classic versions. We've got a very classic looking Major Bludd. We've got a very classic looking Barbecue, very classic looking Breaker, very classic looking version 1 Snake Eyes. We're getting Timber, we're getting the Ram. So I'm very pleased with the direction that this line has taken. I know that there's still room for improvement. I'm still holding my breath to see if we get more of these Cobra Island figures in the more Cobra Island figures this summer, and hopefully we can we'll all be pleased with the results.